was really scared seeing something like that at 12 years old. Welcome to the world of what we don't understand. My name's Quinn Askelson. A little bit of history about myself. I am a former chief of police, United States Army veteran, 25 years of service as a firefighter and EMT, fire rescue, search and rescue, etc. Just recently retired from that, actually, about 3 years ago, from being on public service for being an EMT and firefighter, of course. That was volunteer status. Um, Decided to pursue another avenue of a career, which is I own a wilderness outdoor skills and school and guide service as my pastime, and I'm also semi-retired from being a combat tracker. That's a military contractor where I did that abroad. Quite a diverse background. Then I also fill in at for a hospital network for safety and emergency management. I guess to start for Bigfoot, how that plays into my world is when I was a young man, young boy actually, I was 12 years old, and that's how I had my first encounter and opened up my eyes to the world of cryptids.
Well, tell me about that encounter. You were only 12. That's pretty young.
Yeah.
Where were you? What did you see? How did that happen?
Okay. Well, basically, I had a mentor when I was young. He was a Native American. Good friends with my uncle that owned a guide service, and basically he would take me out into the woods and stuff in the northern woods of Minnesota, and he would teach me listen to nature and try and mimic the wildlife and identify the different species within the woods. In order to understand the woods, you have to be able to see what's in the woods and understand the animals, know what to look for the plant life. So, learning all that has been a big part of my life to lead me where I'm at today. And just part of that world was an encounter that we were sitting out underneath a tree, and all of a sudden my mentor said, well, Quint, here's something that you don't get to see every day. He says you're about to experience a encounter with what they call the wild man. And he was quite surprised himself because he actually got to experience it as well. Um, and he was just kind of whispering very quietly. And basically, what it was is this entity, Bigfoot, in my world is called Wild Man, is how I grew up with the name or the title of what Bigfoot is. It was probably about about 7.5, 8 foot tall, and I was I was calling birds, and what happened was it stepped out onto the trail and mimicked the bird. And I do believe, if I remember right, it was like a thrush. So he mimicked exactly what I was trying to do, and it was kind of really a rare experience. And I was really scared too, seeing something like that, at 12 years old. But it was also exhilarating as well. Saw eye-to-eye contact for about maybe 1 to 3 seconds. It stepped out, did the mimic, then just went on its way back into the woods, and life went on as normal. Not for me though. And my mentor said, well, that's a gift to be able to see that, he said. And if you ever see it ever again, you'll be blessed. And he says, welcome to the world of what we don't understand, young man, is what he said.
What do you think he meant by that? Welcome to the world that we do not understand.
So everyone knows that we go out into the woods. We know that there's research groups, there's thousands of people out there that have seen something out there in the woodlands or in the deserts, etc. Um, it's a phenomenon that no one is familiar with. It's a undocumented species, possibly, or it's a hominid of some form, or it could be something else in other worlds, what other people consider, paranormal, might consider, you know, portal. Me myself, I believe that it is a highly evolved species, much like humans.
What information drew you to that conclusion?
Over the years, I'm also a ordained minister. And I'm a firm believer that biblically speaking, the Bible brings up the giants many times throughout the Bible in different verses. There's actually separate books to the Bible that was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, actually called the Book of Giants, and it's also mentioned in the Book of Enoch. So there's a lot of documentation, biblically speaking, about this. I feel species that is directly related to biblical text for me. And also, you just the Native American culture is so rich in the truth of what their culture is because their culture is passed on from generation to generation to generation. And it's not just folklore, it's not superstition. In their culture, it's the truth as well. So we just can't play out that as folklore, mythology, etc. There's something there when you have as many people in the world for hundreds of years, if not 1,000 years, identifying a giant species on the earth.
Your mentor being Native American, did he elaborate any on what their culture believes that this wild man is?
This creature, I'll call it a creature. I'll call it a man. I don't know what to call it, so I might use different terms throughout my explaining this. He explained it that he is a wild man, that he lives within the woods, and that he's been the great mystery to his people for ages. Pretty well simple. Doesn't play into it anymore. It's a spiritual being.
And he didn't elaborate as to why they concluded this was a spiritual being?
Because his families, they've always lived in the woods with them, and he said at one time in their history that the indigenous peoples used to have friendships with them. They used to work beside each other in the fields. They used to work in the woods together, and then just over a period of time, that started going into a separation of the two races.
Have you had any other encounters besides that time at the age of 12?
Oh yes, yes. Since then, I've had several encounters. The most recent one was actually I was on a group. We were doing a night walk, and it was in northern Minnesota. I was actually out with my combat tracking dog. I was on the road, and the other team members, there was four people that we never met that we took out on a night walk with us with this group. During this time span, um, the first group members was walking along, and they started doing some communication just by simple, everyone calls it wood knocking. And then fast forward, there was a call and a response for the wood knock, upon which time from the wood knocks then pursued, my dog started striking sound tracking. Then he identified from one spot where there might be one, and then another one from the second response. And then we also estimated that there was a third one. So right away, me and some other team members was walking across a bridge where they were tree knocking, and a gentleman by the name of Jason, he looked across and he said there was movement, and he said there's one right there. And then another person backed up and saw the same thing. So we had what they call it different classes. It's a visual. One had a full visual of a Bigfoot. The other, her name was Susan. She then saw just a quick movement of the one. So there was an A sighting and a B sighting, followed by another series of wood knocks. I came across the bridge, and then another person took a group of the people that was with them on the night walk that we were guiding into the woods. Upon that time, I was sitting there, kind of looking, scanning the woods, and all of a sudden my dog indicated a visual track. By the way, I have certified tracking dogs. Um, and right away, the dog struck visually. I'm looking at down at the dog, and all of a sudden, I feel a warm sensation against my head. Right away, evidently, I was knocked out by a rock that was thrown, and two people witnessed the rock hitting me horizontally from the deep wooded area. I was totally, completely incapacitated. A few seconds later, I came to and I asked what happened. The two witnesses identified that a rock had struck me in the side of the head. I did suffer a concussion from that, by the way. Uh, but during that time, the group that went back into the ditch heard, um, actually heard a grunt sound, and that happened. It was on video as well. They captured the grunt sound at the same time that I was hit by the rock, so they're thinking that that grunt was from the entity that threw the rock that hit me in the head. So, um, after I got my marbles back together, um, got my faculties going again. Right away, I walked back across the bridge with the other group of people. I asked who wants to go into the woods with me. The meantime, the other people was kind of looking around, trying to see what we could see. The young man that decided to come into the woods with me, we went into the woods about 20 yards in. At that time, simultaneously, that gentleman and I looked at each other and we just established what we saw was the same things because we were just kind of going, "Oh my!" So this is what we're seeing. We looked at a 8 or 9 foot entity trying to peer behind a tree from one side to the other, kind of doing the classic shuffle, and then um, two more people behind us came in. They only saw a flash of something move, but we both saw that entity run into the woods, crashing just like a tornado. I mean, it was just like a tornado. I mean, the sounds of the brush, the debris field that he left was about 4 foot wide, and then just ran into the wooded areas into a thick, swampy area. So therefore, right away, just to protect the people that was with us, I said stay back, and I had a cover guard come up and protect them, and I had a camera person come up and follow me. I started using my tracking dog. We had scent track actually, along with all the breaks. You can't miss the trail for for what happened. I mean, we had breaks about 3 to 5 foot in the air. Just a debris field. You wouldn't believe the debris field. Um, so went in about 50 yards, and me and the camera operator was looking around. Then all of a sudden, at the end of 50 yards, the dog lost the scent track. We lost the debris field. There's no more sign, and totally shut down, quiet, nothing else. Um, we both looked at each other and we went, "Well, that's different." But here we go once again. The elusive one had, basically ditched us quite well. I call him he's a super ninja basically to me. To be able to do that, to lose scent from a dog, to lose any type of tracks, and not have any sign. I couldn't cut sign if I wanted to. Being a combat tracker, I've been all over the world, learning different tracking concepts and strategies. And then being also an instructor, an outdoor wilderness instructor, and also I train guides to track. So basically, I'm like a train the trainer for guide services as well to get them certified in certain states that require them to be certified to be guides. I mean, I couldn't find a sign to save my life. I couldn't find any more debris. Not even a minute later, after all that happened, all of a sudden we had an ominous feeling start, and I call that the infrasound, basically, possibly, along with the pungent odor of it smelled like poop. And then the other person said, to me, that smells like entering the primate display at the zoo in Minneapolis, Minnesota. He said is what it reminded of him. We just took that as an educational thing that we just got skunked by Bigfoot again on a trail and lost all evidence, and we came back out. But during that time span, one of the team members and a person that was along for the night walk had found a very nice track. So they casted the track and sent that in for DNA testing, see if there's any follicles that we could rake off the bottom. And they also took the rock, and they actually found the rock that hit me in the head, and they sent that in for DNA evidence testing as well. That's the most recent one. Then I've had several other encounters.
Let's look at this one just a little bit more. I have a couple of questions. One, have
Sure.
you heard anything back from the DNA testing?
Not as of yet. No, this has been 1 month ago.
And the second question I have then is, losing the scent, the track, that whole debris thing that was going on all through that area. What do you think happened to this Bigfoot?
So I think what he did was see, wild man. So humans evolved in technology. This species evolved in being able to blend in with their elements. I don't think it's portals, okay, for me. I mean, there are portals in the world possibly with paranormal. This is not paranormal. I call this a master of woodcraft. This guy is the ultimate woodsman. This entity can move through the woods as good as a deer, better than a bear, even a black bear. You can be sitting in a tree, being a guide. You can sit in a tree stand, and you could be literally sitting in a tree stand over a bear bait station, and you won't even hear a black bear come into the bear bait. Literally. I mean, bears are slow and methodical, and if a bear can do that and fool you, a deer can come in even slowly in the woods. Um, it's just amazing what this species can do. I mean, just to be able to ditch me like that, I mean, to say the least, is that he's the ultimate in woodcraft, I'll have to say. I mean, his abilities makes me look like, a Boy Scout.
So he's able to slink away somehow and just not be able to hear him or see him. How did he get rid of his scent?
You know what? That's a good question. I don't know how to, I can't elaborate on that. He may be, so, skunks, civet cats have a special ability to secrete residue, you know, produce it at a certain time to where it's a defense mechanism, okay, for that species. Um, so why can't a highly evolved species have that same ability, even though um other mammals may not have that skill? Um, Even wolverines and badgers secrete residues. A wolverine also can secrete uh a style of oil that can contaminate food as well. So there's lots of species out there on the earth that can put off odors and do certain things to create a attack on different styles of sensory overload.
So you think the dogs were not able to track the
Excuse me.
new scent that was put forward? You don't think the dogs were able to then track that new scent that came out?
Oh no, no, he it was an area effect, and then it dissipated. The dogs totally got locked down, couldn't even find them.
That's a very interesting encounter, by the way. Very good, very, very detailed, very interesting. Any others that you want to share?
We were up in a deer camp last year, and we were sitting in this camp, and I had a bunch of clients out in tree stands during the day. So that evening, as camp got wound up, we started people started coming into camp. Well, everyone was sitting around in the camp. We started hearing items hit the top of the camper. Um, this is the same area to almost in the same area located where the rock episode that happened with me within 10 miles of there. This is a very hot, active area. Um, Rocks started hitting the top of the camper. And then the really scary part was when we were just sitting there eating quietly and just listening to the night that went totally quiet. There was evening loons were singing, um birds were flying. You can hear the ducks feeding on the wild roots and different wild rice species on the water. All of a sudden, everything went quiet. I mean, just dead silent. There was no birds, no nothing. And then we started hearing some mumbling, and then we heard some distant whoops, and then we heard a really loud, boisterous, bellowing yowl. And that definitely lasted for the amount of the air that would take, would be more than a human's ability to be able to do that with the lung capacity that we heard, and it was loud. I would say probably to do that, it had to have a decibel, at least 60 decibels, in order to do what he did for an extended period of time. It was actually quite amazing. And then later that night, we were getting ready to bed down. All of a sudden, a log come flying out of the woods and hit the lantern and knocked the lantern down. It caused a small fire on the ground. So we got the point. We just said, okay, we're going to put that out, and everyone went to bed for the night. And it was a very sleepless night for everybody. And there was 6 people in camp.
You think they were trying to get you to leave?
I would say probably because they weren't used to the people that was in camp. By the way, 3 people from the camp actually requested a money back and they didn't want to be in the area anymore. So they left. So I lost 3 clients that night automatically. They've never experienced that before. These people are from a metropolitan area. They wanted to come out to the woods and enjoy a deer hunt, and that was cut short because of this very issue. And now they advise they'll never come back to the woods again.
So it was kind of scary for them.
Oh, yeah, enough to where to this guy to this day, there's one of them that actually has PTSD now because of it.
How often does that happen that you've encountered the people who have these experiences that it's that traumatizing or frightening to them?
I would say there's more than you think because of all the sightings that we're seeing, people are finally starting to come forward and talk about these issues. I would say probably at least I would say maybe 10 to 20% might have issues now with this.
Do you think it's because they don't think that this creature actually exists, or is it because the creature is so frightening when you see it?
People just don't think it exists. They always thought, well, Bigfoot, they think of Patterson Gimlin as, a hoax, when in actuality it was Doug with the creator of Monster Quest proved different. Good for him, by the way. Hats off to Doug. And I also wanted to take hats off for a minute too, for his Legends meets Science too. Doug's doing fantastic stuff with that. So I just wanted to give a hats off to Doug for that. Thanks, Doug, for doing everything that you're doing with that right now, trying to bring science to people for awareness.
Yeah, I interviewed him a while back. I was highly impressed with a lot of the
Yeah.
research he's doing and what he's putting out there. So,
Yes.
and you live close by, right? Close around there.
Correct. Yeah. Doug and I are friends.
Have there been any unique things that you have done to try to locate these things or have an encounter with them?
I have tried what they call uh, evidence gathering kits, and I've placed them all over the woodland areas. I have a dozen up, and I've actually had one that was taken, and then also I've used mannequins. I've used mannequins and with good effect. So I'm also outside of Bigfoot. I also, being a former chief of police, I'm also into investigating. I used to do investigations on occult and ritualistic crime in law enforcement, and I also have a passion for trying to find missing persons. I support David Pilati's 411 missing Can-Am Missing Project as well. Um, I don't know him, but I support him in what he does. He has made a big impact at trying to identify people missing in our national parks, not just in our missing parks, but in our rural areas of America. We have dozens, if not hundreds, of people missing for unusual and unknown reasons. And I'm also into that world with my Scout Trackers research and investigations team as to trying to hit the Midwest more on those items as well. So, I mean, we dive deep into these kind of items, and I try and help families have closure. So, we've been up and going for about a month now on that as well.
Well, I have a question back when you mentioned mannequins. Tell me how is that utilized?
We know that children are disappearing in our woodlands, okay? And these mannequins were the size of a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old. So I took a recording on an old cell phone, and I just basically made several hours of children playing, children crying, laughing, having conversations, playing in a playground. I put all this together just by simply going online and finding it and taking all the recordings and putting it together. I then put children's clothing on the mannequins, okay? And over the course of a night, I left it out there. I came back the next morning. Both mannequins were missing, and I only found a shoe about 100 yards down the trail when I was trying to trail them. And all of a sudden, once again, I had a tracking dog. I actually had my other dog that's a visual and scent tracking dog and I had the trail because I purposely put scent on the mannequins, so therefore my dog would be able to scent and try and either scent or visual track it. And after about 100, under 100 yards, once again, lost the scent track, lost all evidence, gone, only found one shoe. Two weeks later, I found floating in the water, I found one of the arms of the mannequin.
So did you have the recordings inside the mannequin or some type of
No,
attachment with the mannequin?
I actually took an old cell phone and stuck it in a tree, and just put it on nonstop play for 8 hours.
That's
Kept it
amazing. That's ingenious.
kept it very simple. Well, if you think about it, I'm looking at the research, and I'm using circumstantial evidence. What is working? Well, there's children missing, right? There's people missing. How are they missing? It's when at point of separation is when, for example, the mannequins, I simulated me with the mannequins, and I talked to them like they're really children, okay? Because you never know if you're being watched, okay? See, in the world of combat tracking, when you're hunting humans, see, combat trackers hunt the hunters, okay? Combat trackers on a battlefield, we hunt the elite hunters of the battlefield. We go after the snipers, the special ops groups, et cetera, et cetera. Enough about that stuff. Um, so I'm taking those applications along with simple investigative skills from my past in law enforcement, being an investigator myself. Um, I take I'm taking a look at, okay, we have children missing. We know that ladies are disappearing more than men are, and also hunters are disappearing. So I thought I'm going to take the easiest target for anything, which would be a child, because we know that children are defenseless. And it's amazing how in some of these 411 cases, the parents are literally standing there at a campground, and then the children are playing. They turn their backs for about 2 minutes. They turn around, child's gone. They call search and rescue. They call law enforcement. They call the sheriff's office. They show up. They do a grid search, and while they're doing that grid search, they scan an area 6 times. They find one. First of all, the dogs have no scent track. Two, they can't find any type of clothing. Three, there's no one that saw anything. And it's always point of separation is when something happens as to when the attention was not there. And I'm probably wrong at some of that, but I'm hitting on most of the key points. So what I did, I took that evidence from missing persons. I thought, well, let's try it. Well, so I talked to them like they were children. I dressed them up and I carried them in my arms like they were children. I sat them down and I'm having a conversation with them. And we were actually talking about, let's go backpacking. I just was making kind of communication. And then I said, okay. I said, well, we're setting up camp for the night. I said, let's just stay out underneath the stars. And then I left the recording and I left the mannequins there and I let it play for 8 hours. And when I came back after that period of time, both mannequins were gone. And then, of course, like I said, the next day I found a shoe, and then a few weeks later I found a arm from the mannequin. So creepy, but I've just proven that it's effective.
Have you only tried that one time or have you repeated it?
I've repeated it now with a baby crying. I actually had vocalization of almost like a singing sound, but nothing took the doll that I was using.
But they
I'm
did
gonna try.
the children mannequins, just not the doll.
Yeah. So I'm going to try another approach real soon as well, where it's going to be involved as I'm going to actually get a female mannequin and a child mannequin, and I'm going to set them up near a tent, and I'm going to do the same thing with a campfire and camping.
So it makes a realistic setting.
Correct. Because, why are people disappearing in the national parks and it's normally remote camping? People are just disappearing and they can't explain reasons why. Or if they find the person, they're finding the person dead due to unusual or normal circumstances. They don't really have good reasons why. I don't know. Is it abduction? Is it Bigfoot? Is it something? It's something. I don't know what it is, but it's worth me it's worth me investigating if people is disappearing. So if I can at least, with my group, our mission statement for Scout Trackers Research and Investigations Team, our goal is to at least bring closure to one family with hopefully new evidence or um, something that can at least help. So if I can help one family, then I would say our mission statement's been fulfilled, just to help people. Because after all, we're one tribe, and we all want to look out for each other and do everything in our power to bring these missing people home, or at least bring closure to the family.
Have you considered putting some type of a camera out there to observe the site when you set that up?
Oh, I have. Yeah.
I think that
Yep.
would be interesting to see how that goes too. That's very fascinating.
So I will give you this one piece of information. The camera that I tried using, something smashed it from the blind spot.
Was that during the time that something took the mannequins?
Yes. Somebody smashed my trail camera that I had 15 foot in the air. And it was camouflaged with bark. They knew exactly where it was. They smashed the darn thing. So I'm going to try some other camera traps, I think, soon with this other setting. So got to get creative.
Well, it sounds like you're definitely doing that. I really can appreciate that. Are there any other things that you've learned through tracking that might help someone else that's perhaps out there in the wild looking to maybe find some evidence as well?
So what I can say is keep your eyes to the woods, and just don't look at the woods, but you have to see the woods. You have to see what you're looking at. And you have to have woodland knowledge. You have to think like a woodsman. You have to think like the animals that are in the woods hiding from you. You have to have good woodsman skills, I think, to understand this species. because I can tell you, I've seen this species now, and I don't like seeing it, by the way. I don't want to see it. I don't need to see it anymore. I've seen it, and since I've been 12 years old, I've seen this 23 times, one way, shape, or form, either at a far distance or with people or guiding other people, sharing their experiences. And what I mean by seeing is footprints, class A sighting, a B sighting, a quick shadow, hearing the I call whoops and the hollers, and I don't beat on. See, I'm a firm believer. I'm not going to go looking for them because I don't want that trouble. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to conduct investigations and try different things to see if it works to bring them in to try and capture something. Ultimately, I still think that we're dealing with a master of the woods, and I'm a little boy learning, and I could learn from him, and he's teaching me. Just by watching him, I'm studying him and I'm learning about his skills. Basically, I'm hunting him, and he's definitely, I would say, probably knows that I'm trying to get after him. But what I mean by hunting him is learning what he's doing. I'm evolving as he evolves, and I'm definitely being a failure right now at it, though. I'm really trying though, but hopefully we can do something. And basically, I have a message to all the Bigfooters out there. There's a lot of territorial Bigfoot people. I mean, they don't want to share their hot spots. They don't want to, I mean, very much, oh, this is a hot spot. I'm going to do my research here. Um, I'm not looking to get information, but if we can start communicating better with everybody else, telling people what works and what doesn't work, nothing is a secret in research. The only way we're going to grow our culture is by having documentation. It's all about facts and data. If we don't have facts and we don't have data, we don't have anything in the science community. Me, I could care less if what the science community thinks. They're going to think it regardless. You could give them a purple rose and they would say it would be yellow just to counteract something if you even bring up cryptids with some of the science culture. But slowly we're evolving, but it's going to take us as a collective to collaborate, and be cohorts in the field and share experiences, share information, and get the word out there that, hey, we are now working together as a team instead of being separated, because separate territorial is not working. And we've been at this since the late 60s. Something we're doing is wrong. And I think we're not collaborating, we're not communicating enough, and we're not helping each other enough to spread the word on what works and what doesn't work. And until we get past this problem, we're never going to grow as a community in the Bigfoot community or any cryptid stuff, because they're going to still look at us like we're not credible, because we're so we're so divided among ourselves that we're fighting amongst ourselves. That makes us look like, bad karma to them. Why would they want to look at us when we can't even get along ourselves? So we got to start working closer together, getting the information, compiling data and facts, and just sticking to that, and not going on theories and what ifs and maybes.
What do you think about, and this isn't UFO, but they just recently had a congressional hearing on the UFO community. What do you think about having something like that with the Bigfoot community?
I would say that would be monumental. And I think that, you know, so I can tell you, I have conducted 75 interviews unofficially with some of the National Park Service people that are retired and active, and they're telling me that there's something out there. I'm not going to divulge that information or the credibility behind these people though, because you know what? I'm a former chief of police, and I'm also a former firefighter and search and rescue and EMT. It's these people that are coming to me and telling me these things. They're seeking me out because they need to get it off their chest, and they're talking to me because guess what? There's something. Why would 75 people lie about something that's happening within our national parks and happening in America? Why would they lie? There's no reason behind it. And all their stories are similar, and it all relates to what you just mentioned. And God bless MUFON. I wish them well. They're doing great things. But I'll tell you what, it's due to what I'm hearing is weird UFO reports, and also weird, unusual phenomena within our woodlands. And that means Bigfoot, orbs, strange things that are happening, people appearing, disappearing, and then all of a sudden a child disappears and during the search and rescue. How can a child that's 3 years old get lost in the woods and be on the other side of a mountain? They find it. That is impossible. That's just examples of the stories I'm hearing. Okay.
And the UFO community has dealt with a lot of this for a long time. Bigfoot seems to have some kind of a connection, do you think?
I cannot answer that honestly. I don't know. I don't want to speculate. What I know is what people has told me that there's a correlation. For me, I'm not going to call them right or wrong. I'm just collecting the facts and the data, and I'm just sticking to that story because the facts and the data speaks for itself.
That's probably a smart move. What else do we need to know?
I will be doing more research, and I'm trying to network with lots of teams across the United States. I'll be trying to grow our database. Um, it ain't going to be just for Bigfoot. My database that I'm putting together is going to be a kind of a compendium to where anyone who wants to network with us, I'm going to put their information just into a database, and it's going to be available for everyone to use for free as long as they sign up as part of the agreement of being in the network with each other to share the community. Because if you're not going to share, then why be part of it?